Hi, welcome back to my channel Teach Me AK. So in this video I am going to show you how to write a simple program in C language that prints hello world to the console. So let's get started.
And welcome back. So let's start writing a C programming to display hello world onto the screen. So for this I'm using Turbo C to write my C programming code. So whatever you are seeing on my screen right now is the Turbo C window or the editor screen where I will write my C programming language. When you start writing a C programming code, it would always start with something called as a preprocessor statement. So always do remember preprocessor statements always start with hash symbol, and then whichever header files you want to include as part of your executional code, that has to be included. So now when I am trying to display some statement as hello world onto my console, for that there is a header file that we need to use as stdio.h. So always do remember this is the syntactical way of writing a preprocessor statement. Always a preprocessor statement will start with hash, and then you will write include, and within angle opening bracket you will write the header file, whichever header file you want to use as part of your executional code, and then that preprocessor statement will close with a closing angle bracket. So now this stdio.h indicates as standard input output dot header file. So now let's continue programming. The next line of code that you need to write is you need to say to the compiler that your execution statements would start only after this. So in the sense, the compiler understands only when you write main, after that whatever execution statements are there would need to be executed. So whenever after you write a main, always the executional statements would start after the opening curly brace, and then your execution statements will end within the closing brace. So now, since our aim is to display hello world onto the console, for that there is a function by name printf. So do remember the functions will always have opening and closing parentheses, and any of the executional statements would need to be terminated by semicolon. So since our aim is to display hello world, in the printf function, any statement that needs to be displayed onto the screen, you need to write them within double quotes. So now I will start my double quote and write the statement as hello world, and then close my double quotes, and I will even close within the parentheses, and I need to terminate this particular executional statement with a semicolon. So now whatever set of lines of codes that you have written, it is all human understandable or human readable language, but machine doesn't understand that. So for that, to convert my language such that the machine understands, there is something called as a compiler, which will take your set of lines of codes and try to convert that into a machine understandable language. For that, this Turbo has an inbuilt compiler which you can enable that via, there is a menu called as compile, and then you need to select the first option as compile. So now what it tries to do is your set of lines of codes, it is trying to convert that to a machine language. And now it is trying to show you there are no errors with 0 errors here, but however it prompts there is a warning. To see what is that warning, you need to press any key, and then now it is trying to show you there is a warning called as function should return a value. Do remember, always the executional statements should return some sort of value, But since I'm not returning any sort of value here, what I will do is before the main function, I will write a keyword called as void. That indicates void is something, nothing exists. That means it is null. So in the sense, I'm trying to say to the compiler that I'm not trying to return any sort of value, but try to execute whatever sort of statements that I'm trying to give you. So now let's try to compile these lines of codes again and then try to check. So that's it. That's how your lines of code is successful now. Now, since our aim was to see hello world statement onto the console, now our compilation is successful. But however, if I want to display this hello world statement directly onto the console, I will use another header file by name con.io.h, which indicates console input output.h header file. So I will include that header file and then show you the statement. So I have included the header file con.io.h, and then since I need to display this particular printf hello world statement onto the screen, there is a function which is present as part of con.io.h, which I will try to call that here. I will write that as get ch. Since it is a function, always they need to be with parentheses, opening and closing parentheses, and since it is an executional statement, I need to terminate it with a semicolon. So now let's try to compile this and check if my code, lines of codes written are accurate or if they do not have any sort of syntactical errors or anything. So I will compile that. So that's how it shows success, means there are no errors. I can run that without any issues. So let's try to run these set of lines of code and then see the output. That's great, you have made it now. So this is how the hello world is getting displayed onto the console. So I hope this video tutorial was helpful for you to understand and understanding how to write a C programming code or display a hello world statement onto the screen. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more programming tutorials. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.